Hi everybody, and thank you for joining this webinar entitled Using Media, Links, and More Links. In today's session, we're going to cover the areas that are on screen now, and these half-an-hour sessions can be packed with information, and we do keep the pace quite quick. Do remember that if you miss anything, you can watch this video again from the recording, and it will also be uploaded onto YouTube. Okay then, let's begin. The first area that we're going to look at is user-defined buttons. Now, never before has there been such rich media content available for lessons. And as teachers, we no longer rely on one type of media for instruction. Lessons often involve video, sound, web content, and any number of programs. Now, obviously, each classroom is different and depends on the classroom style, the topic, and age range that you're teaching. But with anything, the trick is always managing that media so that it doesn't interrupt the pace and balance of the lesson. We want to show you how ActivInspire can do this, and user-defined buttons are one of the areas that can help. What we found is this particular feature is something that very few teachers seem to know about, but once they do, they start using it for a wide range of programs. So a user-defined button allows you to access or open a file or program directly from ActivInspire, and it opens the whole program. So unlike a link, which we're going to look at later, which links to a specific file type, this opens a whole program. So let's have a look. To create a user-defined button, you need to go to File and Settings, and you can see I have 5 options across the top. I'm going to select the one that says user-defined buttons. You can see I've got my options here, and I'm going to go to I want a program file, and I'm going to go and find the program that I would like to link to. Now at this stage it takes you out to your computer, and I need to click on my C drive to find my programs in this case, and I'm going to go into Program Files. Now there are lots of different things that you could link to, and obviously that's going to depend on your particular lesson, your particular classroom, and what you use the most. For the purposes of this, I am going to link, oops, I've missed it. I'm going to go into Microsoft Office, and I've lost where it was. There we are, and I'm just going to link to one of these files here. So I'll link to Excel, and I'm going to hit Open. Once I've created that link, you can see that the extension comes into my box here, and I'm going to hit Done. Now I know that it's worked because if you notice, I've now got the icon up here on my toolbar. Now many of you might not have seen the third column of your toolbar because as a default that is rolled in, and this might be more familiar to everybody, and we've looked at the toolbar in quite a lot of detail in previous webinars. So if I roll that toolbar out, you can see that these are the programs that I've linked to, and here I have the tools in ActivInspire that I use the most. Now these will be different for every single teacher depending on what it is that you're doing. This bit, if you like, is the intelligent bit of our toolbar. It gives you that option, so I obviously spend a lot of time editing things, but it finds the things that you use the most and adds them directly to the page. Just going to bring those instructions down for anyone that is viewing this. That means that you can just pause it at this point and have a go at creating your own user-defined buttons. So how would that work in a classroom, and why would we look at it? Well, if I move on to look at this particular geography example, you can see here that I've put 2 buttons onto my page. I've got Google Earth and I've got Microsoft Surface Globe. So in this particular example, we're looking at famous places from around the world. I can drag a place up, resize it. Now this particular picture is set as a container, again something we've covered previously, and that means that I'm able to write whatever my students' first-hand knowledge is Apologies that I'm using a mouse here, so let's just write that in. And I can then shrink it down and put it into the right place on my map. Notice how the notes go with it because I've used a container, so it's a really great tool. What I'd want to do now, however, is stretch that knowledge and the learning so I can use my buttons to take me out to those particular places, go visit them virtually, and then come back to that activity and add more notes to it. So I'm really pushing the learning. It allows me to expand their existing knowledge and add to it. So hopefully you can see how they can be really useful. Remember, it works for any program or any file that you use on a regular basis. Just open them straight up from ActivInspire. Okay then, we're going to move on to look at HTML. Now, HTML was added in version 1.5 of ActivInspire. So, as we move on, if you're looking at this at home and you don't see that option, just make sure you check what version of ActivInspire you are currently using. That's really easy to do by just going to your Help and About, and it will tell you at the top what version you're using. You can see here I'm using ActivInspire Professional version 2.0.6. Okay, so anything higher than version 1.5 will have embedded HTML in it. Now, embedded HTML allows you to live stream content directly to your board and avoid any unwanted adverts or the necessity to actually visit that particular site. However, I have to caveat here that if the school blocks the site that you are trying to access, it will still be blocked because it's still pulling down that information, even if you've embedded it at home and it worked fine. If the school blocks the site, the information will not come down and this will be a blank window. Do have a workaround for that, but that is coming later in the session, but I just wanted to point that out to you before we start looking at how to go about it. Okay, so remember, if your school blocks the site, if school blocks YouTube, it is still going to be blocked even if you've embedded it. So to embed HTML, we go to Insert, Link, and you can see the option here for embedded HTML. Okay, so that's where we want to go. But before we can do anything there, we need to have that embed code from the site we want to link to. So you can see here that I've prepared this and I've actually got my page up and I want to link to a YouTube page. So I'm just going to go to that page. So this is the video that I would like to link to. And underneath the video and the description, there is an option to share. I'm going to click on that and just scroll down a bit so that you can see what's happening. So I've hit share and then I have embed. By selecting embed, I get this window and this is my embed code. Now these used to be, and on some sites they can be quite long. YouTube have spent some time shortening these down. This is a nice embed code. I'm just going to copy that code so that I have it, and I'm going to go back to my flip chart. And I'm going to go through that process again. Insert, link, embedded HTML. Brings up a window, and this is where I want to paste that code in. Now, as you can see, I'd already done that on this particular page, so I'm not going to hit that, but you just hit OK, and the video would come straight into your page. So you can see that I can play it from here, so here we go.
So I've been asked a few times about using different types of embedded media, such as videos from Discovery streaming, into a flip chart. So there's a few things, a few benefits to that, and a few little quirks that I think it pays to know. So I'm going to go into my resource library. I'm going to scroll down and find a page that I know has some media on it, and I'm going to drag that out. I'm going to pause that. So in this page, the media is already embedded on there, and when it's playing, some of the cool things that you can do are use this tool right down here, the camera, to take a snapshot. So as the video advances, you can continue to take different snapshots. Pause that. And these are just regular images now that I can select and manipulate. One thing I like to do with this page is maybe take a few more shots. Just for time's sake, I'll take those right there. Yeah. Just the size of these. But the thing I can do now is I can select them all, and if I copy them, go to a new page. I can lay them all out here.
Okay, so as you might have guessed there, I picked that particular YouTube clip for a reason, because it is talking about using media in Promethean Flipchart. There is lots of help out there for you already, but the feature that we just looked at was the snapshot. And you can see that I can do this with HTML as well. So as the video is playing, I can insert a freeze frame, so a still image, directly into my lesson. And that works with any type of video file that you've used, including HTML. So a really useful tool to use so that you can pull out the right information. Now, as you just saw in the video, you can link to any file that you have on your laptop. And I've placed the images here of some of the most popular types of links that we find that teachers use. But this isn't an extensive list. You can use absolutely anything, or you can link to absolutely anything. Now, these links will open that specific file that you have saved. So just to recap, with user-defined buttons, you can open a whole program or a particular file, but with a link, you're linking to a file that you've created previously. Now, this could be a homework, a worksheet, a website, any type of photo, whatever file type that you have, the process is actually exactly the same. So it's a case of going to Insert, Link, and in this case, we're obviously going to File. Now, again, it takes you out to your computer, and it's just a case of finding the particular file that you want to link to. So I'm going to scroll down here and link to this particular flip chart. So I select my flip chart and hit Open. And you're going to get this extra Insert File window. And this window is really important. I want to highlight a couple of things on here for you. So the first section that we want to look at is how that file that you're linking to is stored. Now, we would always recommend that you store the file in the flipchart. Although that does make the size of your particular file much bigger, it means that wherever you take that file in the future, you take the linked file with you as well. Now, that's essential if you create something at home, as a lot of us do, and transfer it to school, whether that's via email or on USB. If you don't store in the flipchart, the link will be broken. So you may send it over to yourself, open it up, click on that link, and it can't find that particular file. So we always recommend to store in flipchart. And the other option I want to look at is how you view that particular link. Now, you may have noticed on the previous page, I had a link to the YouTube site set as text. I actually prefer the image icon, and that's the one I'm going to use now. And we will be looking at putting it on an existing object further in the session. So how do you want to view that particular link is up here. I'm just going to hit OK. And you can see that there is the link that I've just put in. I know it's live because I can see the little triangle, the little play button next to it. And if I select that, I'm opening up that particular file directly from my page. So I can link to other flip charts, I can link to Word, I can link to Excel, the internet, pictures, whatever it is that I want or I have saved on my laptop. So let's look at that in some lesson examples. And the first example I have is a video on earthquakes. Now, I know the link is here because I can see the play button, but I've actually used a placeholder screen. And I'm going to show you where you can find that button so you can do this yourself. What I've done on purpose is made the screen look blank. Now, this allows me to start the video when I choose. Maybe that is because we want to go through the work. I don't want it to be distracting for my students. I just want to be in control of when and where they view this media. So I'm going to play this video. Now, as you saw me doing there, you have total control of the video while it's playing. So you can pause, stop, you can fast forward and rewind the particular videos, you can control the sound, and I can take those all important still imagery. The last option then is to replace the placeholder image. So if I wanted to do that, I can click on that image and it would create that placeholder to the illusion that my screen is blank in this particular instance. Okay, so it's really important that you can control the video and the sound directly from the page, because I'm sure there are lots of instances when you just want to stop, make sure everyone's paying attention, or maybe explain something in a bit more detail. On the next example, I've linked to a website. Again, my favourite is the image icon, so I do apologise, and I've linked to a PDF document. Now in this instance, we're looking at extending the learner's knowledge. So on this page, we're using Magic Ink to reveal to my students what life was like for these soldiers in the trenches. So we've covered Magic Ink previously. Again, you can find it in any of our help files or on our previous webinars. But Magic Ink uses layers to allow me to rub out any object on the top layer of our software. So once I've revealed that and have my conversation with my students, I want to extend their knowledge a bit more. I can select my PDF document or my file, open it directly up from ActivInspire, and we can go through this particular activity, look at the different types of young soldiers that we have. Whatever it is that I want to link to, this might be a homework, and it could be an exam question related to that discussion. Whatever it is, I have access to it. And then my final example on putting in links is again looking at a video, but rather than having the video directly onto the page and filling most of the screen, here I've linked the video to an object. So if you remember that option from earlier from the screen, I'll just take it back to show you where we were. So remember this object here, we had how do I want the link to appear? So text, image icon, action, or existing object. In this instance, we're using existing object. And I've linked that action, so that particular file is under Dolly the sheep here. So you can see again, that little play button is live, and I can bring that video in. Now, there's an interesting fact for you if you learn nothing else from this session, and I hope you obviously do, but Dolly the sheep was originally named after the singer Dolly Parton. So there's our useless fact of the day. But hopefully you can see the different ways in which you can link to files and bring different things into your page. Obviously, linking and videos aren't the only type of media that we use, and sounds can play a huge part in our classroom. In fact, from a sensory basis, sounds often trigger more memory for us than sight. Therefore, using them in conjunction has to aid learning and obviously our long-term memory. And a sound or a music file can be linked to, just in the same way that any other file we already have can be put into the page. And you have two options. So we've looked at using links and files and linking through there, but we could also use media. By using media, however, things come onto your page straight away. So you're not selecting them when they start to play, it starts to play straight away. So I'm just going to go to my documents here. And my music, and I will just put in, I'm just going to go to some samples because I have videos. Oops, doesn't like it, so I will try one of my videos. There we are. Now it's going to put it straight onto the page. Now I'm just going to pause that there. The reason I wanted to highlight this particular option is although I can move this around, if I turn my page over and I start that, go back again, the sound or the video plays automatically. So when I'm using media, it's opening that media up directly into my page. When I'm using insert link to a file, I have control when that comes in. Now, just linking to a file in ActivInspire is great, but ActivInspire itself comes with a host of sounds, and these can be found in your resource browser. On the primary skin, the one that I'm using currently, the resource browser is found on the main toolbar under this particular icon here. If you're using the secondary skin, you will have to view your browsers, and they can be brought up using view and browsers if they're not just flashing down here like mine. And the resource browser is the same icon, but it's the first one you see here, so it'll be on your browser icon. So I'm just going to open my resource browser up, and we have a file called sounds. This file actually downloads with the main Inspire download, so everyone should have it. And under that sound file, you'll see that there are 6 topics, and we can go in there and we can look at these particular files. So there's some sounds on a bird. And if we hover over them, it tells us what they are. We've got a cow there, and we'll put a dog on the screen. You can just see, just pull them up onto the screen, and when I want to play them again, there we go. Now I will at this point out this button at the top here, which is if you hover over it, the tooltip will come up. It will stop all sounds for you. So that cuckoo went on a little bit too long for me, so I did hit that button, and it's a really useful button to have if things start to get a little bit out of hand and people are pressing sounds all over the place. You can just stop all sounds remotely at any point. So my examples on using sounds, I've got one using sounds from software here. So we've got farmyard examples. Let me just get rid of this browser so we've got a better view. And you can see here that the teacher has linked the file, the sounds, to the words. They're on the existing object, so like we did with Dolly the sheep. And I can hear those particular sounds. But on this particular example, we've used a file that we previously downloaded, so a sound file that we already have. Now, if you've got your iTunes account and it's on your phone, you can connect your phone up to your computer just using a USB, and you have access to all those files as well. And in this particular instance, we've hidden the sound file underneath the stereo. And you can see there, look, no file, and then I've got my little play button. And again, that all-important stop all sounds button up there if it's just taking a little bit too long. Hopefully, we all saw or think we know what instrument that is. I'll leave that one with you. So what we've done here is we've got the sound file hidden underneath an image. It's not linked to the particular the stereo. It's just put underneath. Because the stereo is locked, they're locked together, they're moving as one, they're grouped, they have access to them. So I'm going to show you how to turn your files off using this button here. Now this switches between design mode and presentation mode. So there, if I go into design mode, you can see that sound file just become visible at the top, and I can now move it around independently of the stereo. That's a really useful button if you put everything on your page and decide you want to change the view. So you can actually go into design mode, turn off all locks, and turn off all links and sound files, etc. And then as long as you remember to put it back on again, you'll see that it's there hidden away. If you do want to lock anything to the page so it's inaccessible, just click on that particular object, go to our menu here and select locked. That means we no longer have access to it. I can't move the stereo anywhere. I can still access the file underneath, and that's great, but students can't accidentally move something around the page. So we do recommend that you lock things down as you're going. Basically like using big super glue on your board and just saying that's not for you to touch. Okay, my final area to look at then is how to create your own media files using ActivInspire. I'm just going to pause this for a minute. And earlier in the session, you may recall that I said that we had a workaround for blocking sites. So if sites are blocked in your schools, YouTube is often blocked, other sites are often blocked that have great educational resources. And I'm going to show you the workaround. So within ActivInspire itself, we have a video recorder and a sound recorder. Now the sound recorder, there you go, you can see it sits here, single file, and we have a full screen recorder and an area recorder. Now these three tools also sit in your desktop tools, which are located up here on your toolbar. By selecting your desktop tools, your Inspire flip chart will disappear, and I'm just going to go into that page, but you'll get this lovely wheel in the center, and you can see there that I have access. There's my area recorder, my full screen recorder, and if I go to tools, there's my sound recorder. So these appear not just within Inspire, but also on the desktop, allowing me to take videos or to create videos from anything that I'm looking at, including blocked sites. Now remember, I'd have to do this at home, but I'm going to create my own video that I can then link into my lesson and bring to school. So I'm going to get this up. We're going to look at the same video there, and I'm going to create an area snapshot. An area video, should I say, sorry. So an area video. Now I'm going to draw over the area that I want to record. So previously, hopefully you would set this, so if there is an advert at the beginning, you don't want to have that. You would set it and pause the video at the right point that you want to record. I then want to launch the recorder, okay? Now once I hit record here, it's going to take me out and ask me how I want, or where I want to store this folder. So I'm just going to put this, for sake of time, onto my desktop and just entitle it Webinar. And I'm going to hit save. I'm now going to start that recording and play.
Using different types of embedded media, such as videos from Discovery streaming, into a flip chart. So there's a few things, a few benefits to that, and a few little quirks that I think it pays to know. So I'm going to go into my resource library. I'm going to scroll down and find a page that I know has some media on it. And I'm going to...
Okay, I've stopped that now. You notice that I just stopped that recording at the place that I want to stop it at. Now, this button here at the bottom says Play Recent Recording. Now, it's going to play it in the viewer that you use currently. I'm going to start that recording. There you go. And play.
Using different types of embedded media, such as videos from Discovery.
What I've done is I've actually created my own video. That means when I go back to my lesson, so return to flip chart, I can go into Insert, Link and File, just like we've done all the way through this session. I can find that video that I've just created, and it's created it, oops, where is it? Right at the bottom there. You can see there's the file, and I'm going to open that file, choose my options, always store in my flip chart, and you can see that that file is there and I can play it directly into my lesson. I'm now going to start that recording. Okay, so you can actually bypass some of the problems that we have with blocked internet sites using ActivInspire tools themselves. So remember, those particular tools sit not only in tools in your software, but also on desktop tools. The sound recorder does exactly what it says it will do. Records the sounds that are happening in your classroom, either that's your voice or your students' voices. It may be that you want instructions or you want them to listen to be singing, etc. So by opening the sound recorder and hitting record, I just say what I need to say, and it will place that particular file directly into my flip chart. So I'm lucky enough to have a microphone embedded into my laptop, so I don't have to plug anything in. And you can see there's the file here. So I'm lucky enough to have a microphone embedded into my laptop, so I don't have to plug in. Okay, so really easy to use, and I find that students really love hearing their own voices and getting involved and making their own sound files, especially our younger students, because they don't have the same inhibitions we have about hearing our own voices. It's a really, really useful tool to make your own sound files and add them directly into your lesson. Now, as any good teacher will do, I'm going to end by setting you guys a challenge, because this is my husband speaking, and I want to see if you guys can guess what language he's speaking in.
Language. Conversatio. Ta anandom Seamus. Ta me di Maconi di Balia Gear.
You can see, just using that little example, how I can get my students to really focus on something. So that's obviously a language example, but it could be absolutely anything that we're looking at. It could be a number sequence that we're looking at. It could be different words all using the same particular sound. But we're using the sound recorder to get their interest, and it's not necessarily our voices all the time. Okay, if anyone didn't know, that was Irish there, so I won't leave you all hanging with that one. So hopefully this session has been useful. I'm just going to very quickly take you through some of our support material. Do remember that ActivInspire does come with a very extensive user guide that can be found on prometheankb.com under the article 136. Okay, so it's really brilliant manual user guide. So it takes you through everything that we have. You also have the option to visit Promethean Planet under Professional Development and Videos, Manuals and More, where you can go through the core essentials and the Beyond the Basics manuals, as well as finding links to all our previous webinars and professional development. And finally, ActivInspire has inbuilt help files within your software. Again, on the help here, and you can go to contents or what's new and look at what's happening within your software. Finally then, these are our Twitter handles for any of you that are active on Twitter. You can find us under Promethean UKI or TLC for UKI as well. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you found the session useful.